So again, we just want to welcome everyone to our new perspective series on Savitri, a legend and a symbol. This series is dedicated to Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary. Vladimir and I are here at the LaGrasse Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center in Fountain Inn, South Carolina. We have H.P. Rama, who is in India, joining us today. H.P. Rama is the founder and president of Auro University and benefactor of the Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Centers. And of course, we have our esteemed speaker today, Aurelio, and his team at Sfatum, joining us from Auroville. And we'll share some of their musical explorations of Savitri. So we welcome you, Aurelio, and your amazing team there that's supporting the video and musical production today. Aurelio tells us that the great epics of humanity were always sung and recited to create a deeper impact on the listener. Special readings of Sri Aurobindo's epic are available by great musical compositions of Sunil Bhattacharya. But so far, only a few attempts have been made to let the natural word melody and the rhythm of the blank verse of the poem flow into chant and musical renderings. Having 24 such compositions on his website, Savitri Solar Dharn, which I'll be posting in the chat box shortly, Aurelio will share today about his explorations, process of working with the mantric word, and its inherent musical unfolding. So again, we are thrilled to have you and your team here today, Aurelio, and I'd like to turn it over to you now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sharing greetings from Auroville. I just had an evening walk in the Madhumandir Gardens. Madhumandir in its full splendor. It's always so beautiful when the sun sets, the golden Madhumandir shines through the night. And probably you will see it also wherever we are in the world. We have this amazing conjunction between Jupiter and Venus actually in the evening sky. And when I walked around it, I saw them right above Madhumandir. And in India, we say it's Guru and Shukriya. It's basically the master teacher, and the Shakti. It was so beautiful. And I said, there they are in the skies above us and shining and blessing us and sending their message and their blessings, how to say, in all of us. So I just wanted to share this image. I'm always very happy that LaGrasse actually connects people around the world and that we can participate, that it also gives an opening for Auroville, for this amazing research happening in Auroville, and that you bring together scholars and artists and visionaries from all over the world. I was very touched, actually. I had watched also the presentation of Shradhalu, where so beautifully he actually talked about the descent of Narad through the spheres. And it was very beautiful for me because I had prepared a presentation in Savitri Bhavan on the same subject, because it's so obvious how Narad comes from the subtle and enters through the elemental spheres and comes down in manifestation and expresses basically through his chant. He's there when Savitri appears. So the chant is there when actually the solar word comes back from her journey, from her quest, and arrives back in the palace with the message that she found her soul partner, that the soul of the earth is basically embraced. She found him, and now they want to be in union, and there's nothing which can actually hold them back from it. And then this whole book of fate starts, yeah, and the question of the problem of pain in the world. And basically what I think I want to offer a little tuning for us together, whoever is with us from different parts of the world. When I was the first time in Pondicherry in 1985, what immediately attracted me in Sri Aurobindo's writing was actually, I started off with the secret of the Veda. And there was this opening of the past, basically, of the ancient past, in this beautiful imagery of the gods, and how Sri Aurobindo basically, how he used his golden key of unveiling the Vedic deities in their psychological powers and energies. So there was an opening into the vistas of the past. When I had asked some old sadhaks, what is the most essential reading of Sri Aurobindo, what is the essence of it, they gave me the little book of the mother. And I felt like that was really opening for me the presence of the Shakti. It brought the Shakti into my life in this beautiful description of her four powers and her universal and individual and manifested expression. But when I opened into Savitri, actually it was like, here is the future. So there was this really a revelation from the future. And I grew up basically with all the epic, with many of the epic poems and stories, from the Greek time, the Odyssey, the Iliad, then the Nordic epics, the Edda, the Nibelungs, the Kalevala. And it seemed to me that every age of transition of humanity, actually, there was an epic revealing actually the purpose of this difficult transition time. And I was just thrilled actually to have come in contact with the epic of the future. That was my perception of it. And I think it's a lifelong exploration. What's the revelation of Savitri? And we have to grow into it. I remember one time I had presented some of the songs and music in Savitri Bhavan. And Shraddhavan, very beautiful in her introduction, said, possibly this is one artistic expression, and there will be hundreds and thousands more over the next centuries to come. So I think actually we are at the very beginning of the unfolding of this epic of the solar world descending upon the earth. And one key which opened also from the past basically was because in the Indian tradition, wherever you go, still in contemporary India, the Gayatri mantra is sung. So you can say since 5,000 years, basically the Pandits and everywhere, they are chanting and invoking the power of the sun to illumine us. And with Sri Aurobindo, basically, it's like the fulfillment of the Gayatri mantra, that she is here with us. The daughter of Savitri, she is manifest, she is unfolding if we open into that energy. So what I wanted to offer, a brief tuning for us. I have a beautiful plate bell here, and this plate bell is tuned to the frequency which the earth takes around in its circumambulation around the sun. So it's basically possibly calling us into this alignment with the sun, into an alignment with the solar center, in focusing on the solar center, not only the solar center around which our whole life basically is unfolding, but possibly also the solar center within ourselves. So I will basically invite everybody who is with us this evening, this morning, to possibly, to tune into that space. What is the sun for us? What is the solar center? The source of light, the source of life here on this earth. Yeah. So Savitri, it seems it is actually opening the solar consciousness on the earth. While we are still struggling to become a planetary civilization, we are just in this process, Savitri actually holds the promise that this planetary civilization can only be unified if we realize the source of our life, the sustenance of our life. So I'm inviting everybody to tune in. What is the sun for you? What's the image of the sun? the epic poems, they work with strong imagery. Yeah. Okay. Let's just kind of like take a moment. I mean, I wanted to share the solar center, and then basically we have a solar center in the middle in the gathering place of Auroville. The mother said the soul of Auroville, and how important it is actually that she really emphasized that we focus on building that soul. The soul is built. Now the question is actually, can the soul radiate? Has the soul the space to unfold into the city? And the third layer of it, if we have the solar center outside, we have the solar center in midst of our community, in midst of the Sangha. We can also possibly only recognize the solar center in the Sangha if we also come in touch with the solar center within. And it seems that Sri Aurobindo gave us an amazing tool in Savitri. Actually, if the whole, this 24,000 lines of the epic poem are an outpouring of the creative solar word. Every line has the potential actually of bringing us in contact with it. And at the same time, also in the book of the Traveler of the Worlds, in the book of Fate, in the dialogue with death, in the debate with death, seeing all the hindrances and obstacles of coming into full contact and absorption with the solar center. Let me check. When I speak, my voice is clear. That's no problem.
Yes, it's very clear. The point is here that if Zach can go to the audio setting and choose the original sound for musicians.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He says it is. Now let's hope actually, because we prepared, I want to move through. We prepared many sound samples, small clips actually, to reflect a little bit on my journey with Savitri. It happened from the very beginning, actually, while reading lines of Savitri, and the way I used Savitri, I think many of us actually initially, we used it of just opening the book. It had somehow almost the function of an oracle, of calling the momentary energy of the place, of the situations. I had so many situations over years. I had the book with me all the time in my travels around the world, in my work. All the time there was a copy of Savitri with it. And in many situations where I had the questions or where I lacked the alignment, I was just opening it blindfoldedly and pointed on a line, and that line was jumping on me. And it was always fitting. There was always a synchronicity, and I said, how is that possible? And then I found out that many other people actually also used it in a similar way. So it became the closest companion and friend in the sadhana. And often when there was a line, basically seeing it for the first time and maybe reading 2-3 times over the same verse, suddenly it started to move inside and it started to come into a melody, into an unfolding. And maybe if Zach can prepare that, I want to share the first image. So I was in Pondicherry, and then I went back and I stayed in this isolated mountain valley in the southern Alps of Austria. And when I got this passage of Savitri, Sri Aurobindo speaks about that all the world's possibilities are waiting as the tree waits in its seed. And I had this image of the banyan seed, if you know that the banyan seed is tinier than a sesame seed. And then that in this seed, the potential of it, of this huge banyan tree, waiting to burst out, to come forward, how to say, and to manifest. waiting its seed, are waiting as the tree, waiting its seed. All the world's possibilities in man are waiting as the tree waits in its seed. So that basically, I think that was the first line, the first song basically which came out of it, and that was about more than 30 years ago. Now, when the lockdown happened actually, I don't know if it was with the COVID, I faced actually some challenge with my breathing, with some childhood asthma problems and all of that. And I actually felt moved. I said the only way out is that I would sing more. I want to work with my voice. I did breathing work. And out of this process actually over a few months, it so happened that I was invited to a studio in Aurelio, and over the course of 2-3 months we recorded 24 of the songs. And for me, that the seed, that image of the seed and all those possibilities were the beginning of it. All that has been renews in him its birth. All that can be is figured in our soul. So if that's okay, I basically thought how we can go step by step in this process, how the different lines came and unfolded through it. What was striking for me at that time, the realization that the whole of Savitri, these 24,000 lines, actually happen in one day. It starts at the dawn of the significant day. This was the day when Satyavan must die. And it ends actually in the dusk of that same day when they return basically, and Chumatsena has found his eyesight again, and there's this unity of Savitri bringing Satyavan back from the underworld, so to say. No, that was so amazing for me to understand this whole, the significance. It's there in one rotation of the earth. Yeah, while we're traveling around the solar center, all of this transformation can happen in a 24-hour cycle. And Sri Aurobindo, of course, in this one day, he backs the whole history of human civilization and the future of it into it. There were those 2 songs actually which still were there in the Austrian forest. And the next song for me was basically a line on from Savitri, and it said, "For somewhere on the longing breast of earth, thy unknown lover is waiting for you." Yeah, that was when King Ashwapati sent Savitri out into the world to look for her soul partner, to look for the soul of the earth. And I think that line actually churned in me the adventure, the traveling, and eventually come to Auroville. So if we can listen to that line of it, just the beginning again, we just show small excerpts of it.
For somewhere, somewhere, somewhere on the longing breast of earth, breath of earth, thy unknown lover waits for me. The unknown, the unknown, thy soul has strength and needs no other guide than one who burns within thy bosom's power.
this amazing encouragement and confirmation in the integral yoga, where Sri Aurobindo says that the Guru is inside. Thy soul has strength and needs no other guide than one who burns within thy bosom's power. I think that was for me the encouragement to set out on the journey. It is there within. The solar center, the psychic center is to be discovered within. So I had traveled, I was basically in an exploration phase, and I came to Auroville, and I somehow had this crazy idea before I settled in Auroville, I have to also visit Japan, because the mother had been in Japan and somehow harnessed something from that Far Eastern culture, which was very necessary in the manifestation of Auroville. So I had visited some friends in Tokyo, I had offered some workshops, and at one point I had a day off and I walked into a forest and I got terribly lost. But I had a copy of Savitri with me, and I opened that line, and if you listen to it, a big surprise actually, again showing what every moment actually, how that guidance was there. If we can listen to that passage of it. The description actually, how to say, the call of Savitri, that the whole creation is an expression of the creative word, and that she speaks in the winds, in the voices of winds and waters, and that call is there ever present where we listen deeply for it. The echoes, those echoes of the word supreme, she the word supreme, and everything in creation, every moment can be an echo of it. Every encounter can be an echo, a shading of that word supreme. Now I wanted to say a little bit of an intermezzo, how this, so the songs unfolded over the last 30 years basically. The initial phase was I had been then songwriting with guitar, and so they were the first, we basically recorded 2 cycles of the songs. The first one was more very innocent, basic harmonic patterns played with the guitar, and we worked together in Sunshine Studio in Aurelio with Holger, a very sophisticated musician, composer, arranger, and we just prepared some master tapes with Anushka and Varun, who were also there working with Shakti. We heard them before also in one of your series, and they joined in with their beautiful voices and ideas. And so over those 2 months, we recorded those 2 cycles. One was basically on orchestration and with guitar music and song compositions. And the second songs, they came into a later cycle that happened over the last 10 years, basically where I had trained for quite a few years on Indian vocal music and worked only with tambura. So it was very interesting for me to see the first more innocent approach, to see how basically the music happened, how it came through. And then in the second cycle of the songs, which this was an example from, more deep, more contemplative, more unknown, more opening to the mystery of the work. I just immediately would like to jump into the next sample, and possibly I haven't mentioned it. I don't know if there are listeners in this space also, if it would help maybe if they have earphones for a better quality actually and listening to the details. It's a small, there was then always, how to say, as the sadhana is a process of exploration, and how we can open ourselves deeper, how we can stay more concentrated, more focused on the word. This is just a small excerpt telling about Ashwapati in his process of the yoga. Only he longed to draw her presence and power into his heart and mind and breathing frame. So the possibility of bringing the solar word into the embodiment, if you can listen to this one.
Only he longed to draw her presence and power into his heart and mind, into his heart and mind, and breathing frame.
Very much appreciate this image of the body as a breathing frame. And I think that's what happened. Not only as Nara said, Savitri has to be read loud. The word has to manifest. And I think there's a difference for me. That was the experience of singing the lines often, just taking a line, a few lines, a few verses, and singing them over 20 minutes, repeating them, singing them, and letting them manifest, let them unfold in the body, in the breathing frame. But as we know in the sadhana, there's always these challenges and the cloudy periods where the solar center disappears, and we have the rainy seasons and the monsoon seasons and the winter foggy seasons in the term of the sadhana. And just a small passage which was very much hope-giving for me after Ashwapati goes, how to say, through the different layers of the inner worlds and of the of the subconscious. And then suddenly, you know, and I was reading over pages and pages, and we know how strong imagery Sri Aurobindo's descriptions and the use of word and languages is, and it was turning my belly over for, how to say, for pages and pages. And suddenly there comes this revelation, yet light is there, it stands at nature's doors, it holds a torch to lead the traveler in, it waits to be kindled in our secret cells. So if you can hear that passage.
Yet light is there, it stands at nature's doors, it holds a torch to lead the traveler in, it waits to be kindled in our secret cells. It is a shining warrior in the mind, an eagle of dreams, in the divining heart, an armor in the fight, a bow of gold.
Yet light is there in spite of all the difficulties. It was very beautiful to see that Sri Aurobindo actually in Savitri, he completely used the classical forms of the epic poems. You know, every epic poem basically, especially in the Greek traditions, the first step was always invoking the muse of the poem. And we know that in the first canto, basically, the muse of what Sri Aurobindo is invoking Usha. He's invoking the dawn. And the whole, basically, I think that's in one way symbolically also, we are still in the dark night of the soul. And we're still rising out of our animal nature. And there's a promised dawn in front of it. As we, maybe this is one of our only collective rituals in Aureville. Just a few days ago, you know, once a year we come together on Aureville birthday. We're all sitting there at 4:30 in darkness in the amphitheater, and then a bonfire, a huge bonfire is lit, and it brings us, the bonfire is actually leading the way into the dawn emerging. And it's so beautiful, you know, when the whole community, a few thousand people we were a few days ago, sitting there awaiting the coming dawn. So everything in one way, how to say, so far we spoke about Savitri, but as I said, Sri Aurobindo, there's only a few personalities in how Sri Aurobindo describes them very beautiful in his introductory note to Savitri, no? That they're not only symbolic representations, but they're living embodiments of cosmic energies. And so the question was, who is this? Yeah, this was Sekish just bringing an image from the last bonfire, I guess. Yeah. So the question was, who is Satyavan? Who is this soul of the earth? Savitri finds him there as she meets him at that verge of the forest. He's still on the edge of the forest. He's maybe in exile, but he's not there in civilization. He's back in the forest in a different state of human evolution. And some very beautiful lines actually on Satyavan. I think they come from when she basically reveals she found him, and the parents want to know who is this fellow whom she, in the forest, and where did she find? Why doesn't he live in a palace yet? And Narad describes Satyavan very beautiful. So if we can listen, who is basically the solar world, is descending to meet this embodied earth soul, which is still coming out of the forest of the beginnings of human evolution.
The silence waiting to a hymn of joy, a star of splendor, or a rose of
I think it reflected a little bit of my experience, a silence waking to a hymn of joy. I think that was kind of like a little bit my experience, how Savitri came into my life and how this hymn and the verses unfolded actually. Of course, in the process of opening, it needs patience, it needs listening, it needs an inquiry. And for me, it was also interesting that those lines came towards me, which reflected the process of the work with Savitri, with the verses, with the poetry, and how to open to it. And the next passage is basically on, and I chanted it for long, awaiting the unknown eternal will. And I think the whole sadhana was actually in the music also, waiting. Then from the heights a greater voice came down. The word that touches the heart and finds the soul, the voice of light. So it was more and more step by step coming into the deeper contact, into the deeper dimension of that word manifesting in our life. Yeah, we can listen to it.
And from the heights a greater voice came down. And from the heights a greater voice came down.
This image of a divine intervention, actually, that the word is descending, it came down. And another archetype of the epic poems, it goes down into the underworld, in the Orphic hymns already. No, it goes down into the world of death, into the realm of Yama, and basically does its work there. And the descent of Savitri following Satyavan basically into the realm of death and working, trying to resurrect him, working on the transformation of it. I'm aware of our time. I think we just have 2 more stages to go, and then we can see actually where we're at and if there are some questions. So, as I said, in the sadhana, in the process of opening to this inner solar psychic center, again and again we encounter difficulties. At one point, actually, I think it was in 2006, we had an Aurelio conference in South Africa, And I actually struggled with a very severe burnout at that time. And in South Africa, Cape Town is a very beautiful place actually where we had this conference. I just had Savitri with me, and I recuperated my energy of walking with it, walking over the Table Mountain from all different directions for hours and days with lines of Savitri. And one very significant, I think, which really brought me back into a more healthy life energy, that line about a growing treasure, treasure in the mystic heart, to find some lost or missed felicity, the lyric voyage of a divine soul. And then he talks about those magic musicians and singers who create the word. And let's hear just this last passage.
Strength trembling with the secrets of the gods, the rhythm that bring the sounds, the rhythm that brings the sound of wisdom sea. Wisdom sea, a growing treasure of wisdom sea, a growing treasure, a growing treasure, a growing treasure, a growing treasure.
That growing treasure of the rhythms that bring the sound of wisdom seas. And I think it's that the power of this amazing mantric poetry, that in this fivefold iambic pentameter, that carrying language, that carrying waves of sound which keep on going, and this amazing gift which Rabbindo actually offered to the world, that he managed to bring that mantric quality of speech into the English language. I think this is probably how to say one of his revelations for the future of humanity. I think we're coming to the end, just from a passage, answering Earth's yearning and her cry for bliss, and in this, the answer of it is Savitri. And she basically revealed the secret word. Let's listen to that last passage of Savitri really coming into manifestation.
Reveal the secret word.
That Trinity manifesting through us. I hope actually that I could convey a little bit. All those things actually happened. I was not programming them. I was not looking for those experiences. I was just, how to say, in a beautiful, growing relationship with the power of Savitri, with Sri Aurobido's gift to the world, to the future of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aurelio, so much. It was a great joy to be with you and to listen to these pieces. You know what they reminded me? Our sessions with you in Verity Hall, when the crowds were humming, singing, and then you were taking one line from Savitri and introducing it into this choir, and it was echoing and re-echoing. And I think over years you built that kind of, aspiration towards these lines. They were always coming to you spontaneously. And I hear this multi-voices behind, supporting the crowded voices of humanity, supporting the line of Savitri, which is breaking through your heart, forward. It's very beautiful. It's actually wonderful. Thank you for sharing this.
It was also in, in the traditions, originally the epic poems, even the, the Iliad and Odyssey, they were actually sung. They came from the oral tradition, even before the written word. The Kalevala, the Nibelung, the Edda, they were all sung poets, because I think the singing speech is actually, it's like poetry, it comes from a different layer than prosaic speech.
Right. You have a few questions here. And also, yes, amazingly beautiful people write. Thank you so much, Aurelio, for mesmerizing our long musical journey with Savitri. These are not questions, these are rather, appreciations and joy to be with you. Music is marvelously beautiful. So you have to continue this journey and, bring Savitri in this new wave to us, in the way of creativity, of opening, subjective opening to it, hearing it differently, how it is a kind of musing on the strings of our soul and heart. And as you rightly said, there will be many more expressions, but they will be, crowding up or piling up and creating this choir of the sense of human unity, when all humanity will be kind of gathered around these lines, these prophetic, futuristic lines of human unity. We are very happy to really have you with this presentation. It's a very unique and very rare, though you couldn't really make invocation and closing because of sound quality, technical problems. But this was really
very beautiful. Very beautiful. Aurelio, just to make sure that I've answered right, we had a number of people wanting to hear this music again, and I've put in the chat box your Savitri Solar Dawn URL. Is this where they can re-listen to these if they'd like?
Yes, I think actually from that website which we had created for Sri Aurobindo's 150th work, SEC we brought it also in together with Mother's Symbol. There is a link then, and it goes into SoundCloud. There's also a possibility in Svaram on our web shop. Actually, people can download all the tracks. And I think it's just free on donations. And on SoundCloud, there's actually an immediate access to it. You know what? I haven't shared much of it. It didn't go public or anything. I was a bit shy about it. It is not for the public, I think. It needs an inner listening. It needs a listening of the soul. But I'm very grateful for the collaboration with Holger and Anushka and Varun, the creation of it actually. I mean, the songs were there, and as Vladimir said, we always sang them in small groups and in Savitri Bhavan. But over the lockdown, it gave an opportunity to actually put them into the box, so to say, parcel them so that we can share them. It was a very beautiful process, because with each song we worked, actually something deep happened. And then again we felt in the small collective, actually, hey, there's something else in this poetry. It's not just a written poetry or poem, it's a transforming power of the word is hidden within.
Yeah, thank you so much. Such a beautiful, soulful session, says someone. Thank you.
So the image, that's what I say, I'm sorry with the invocation, but the image stands actually because I think the transformation can only happen actually if we come in contact with the psychic center. And for me, that was in preparation for this session. It was such a beautiful image. Here is the solar center around which the whole Earth basically and humanity, we are circling around it. We basically have a solar center at the center of Auroville, representing the soul of the community, the soul of the Gnostic community. Yeah? And actually all of this is only a reflection of the solar center within. And the more we dare and have the courage to let that one shine, we will recognize it in each other, and that seems to be, how to say, the only safe spot for actually really creating human unity.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you so much.
wonderful, wonderful session.
Beautiful.
We look forward to have more from you.
Yes. Always a pleasure to collaborate with Lacrosse, and so grateful to H.P. Rama now also that he's involved and is trying to bridge things between Auroville and the international community. And Auroville, through its maturity crisis, actually, how to say, that we learn actually also to fulfill the mission and are ready to share with the world. If we're a laboratory in evolution, basically now we also shall be ready to share some of the research which is happening for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.